So this was a good reading month, like insanely good. This video is a little bit late. It's like March 18th or something when I'm recording this, and today I'm going to be recapping my reading from February. No reason I took this long, just lacking motivation. I'm working on getting back into the rhythm of recording, but my body's not having it. Hopefully I'm going to the doctor next week. Hopefully I can get something to help me get that energy back. But until then, you're just gonna have to deal with me muddling along slowly. So I guess we should start with general stats. Just a little like, look at all that. Okay, so all of the books I read this month were between 300 and 499 pages. Looks like my formats was mostly digital. By digital I mean ebook. That was at 40%, and then print and audio were both 30% each. And then one of my sections I track is how I acquired them. Trying to look at this. Looks like 10% is Audible, 10% is ARCs, 20% is KU, and the other 60% is divided between Library, Hoopla, and Libby, which are basically all library, but like when I say library, I mean physically from the library, whereas Hoopla and Libby are apps. Usually if I'm getting something from Hoopla, it's going to be an audiobook, not always, but most of the time, and Libby's ebooks. And then my genre breakdown was I just realized I did not put romance on this, so my genre percentages are off. But historical was 28, romantasy was 28, fantasy was 14, dystopian was also 14, and then other, which I believe was horror. Yeah, it was horror. No, I lied. Mystery thriller. That was the other. I didn't count the horror, but I shouldn't count the horror because that was a beta read, and I don't actually count those in my reading journal, although I do count them to the number of books read. So anyway, I'm gonna ramble, I guess. I read 12 books, officially 10, because 2 of those were beta reads, and it was technically 1. It was the same horror beta read twice, because this person just really wanted me to evaluate every single version of the story. Anyway, pages read, I read 2,755 pages, and I listened to 24.23 hours. And that is not accurate exactly, because I listen on 2.5 speed usually, sometimes higher depending on the narrator, but so this is like how many hours is the audiobook like by default, not how many hours I actually listened to it, I guess. And then my average rating was actually 3.58, which was down a little bit from January, I think. I want to check that now. Yeah, it was 4.14 in January. And it took me an average of 8 days to finish. Which is mostly because I took forever on the audio. One of the audiobooks I read, Legends and Lattes, took me just way too much time. Anyway, I'm gonna go through now, book by book, and because reasons, 2 of my books that I read in February are in my January section because I just had a blank page there. I don't know why I didn't like section out better to figure out how much space I was gonna need. But anyway, so the first book I finished in February was The Scorch Trials by James Dasher. And this is book 2 in the Maze Runner series. I read The Maze Runner 2 or 3 years ago, and I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. However, I just did not like The Scorch Trials at all. I actually rated it 2 stars, and I kind of felt like the main character, Thomas, he just reacts to everything. He doesn't really do enough until like the very end, and at that point it was like, okay, now you're making a choice? Does it really matter? So yeah, I don't love it. I'm genuinely not sure if I'm finishing the series or continuing. I might give the next book, I think the next book's The Death Cure, a chance and determine from there if I'm gonna like finish the series, but I'm really not sure. Okay, the next book I read was Lilith, and not really the next book I read, the next book I finished. I actually started reading this book January 10th. It was my audiobook, which I struggled so hard with. Like, it's not boring. The pacing is just too slow for me, so it was hard for me to really want to listen a lot of times. I say it's not bad, but I rated it 2.5 stars, so it's not great either. Don't read this book if you are heavily religious and you can't separate fiction from your religious beliefs. I thankfully don't have that issue, but it was definitely something that I was like, I could see the connections. Okay, and then the first book in my actual February section, the next book I finished was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is the first Ali Hazelwood I ever read, and I don't regret it. I fully understand why she's so popular. I rated this one 4.5 stars. And honestly, Misery, the main character in this, is my favorite main character of everything I've read so far this year. To be fair, it's only March, so we've got more of the year to expand, but so far I'm like, yes, I need more of her. I'm actually currently in March reading Bride, and not Bride. This is Bride. I'm currently in March reading Mate, and I just wish there were more Misery. But anyway, the next book I finished was Always Mine by Scarlett Avery. I read the first book in this, which I believe is Always You, back in September or October, somewhere in there. And I really enjoyed that. This one, I rated it 3 stars. I didn't hate it. But, I have just determined that I don't love Friends to Lovers. I feel like there's just not enough tension there. As far as like what I want. Like the tension came from something that didn't even really come into play until like 80% of the book, and then it was wrapped up like immediately. So I'm like, eh. And this was the series that I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna continue. Did I say I rated this 3 stars? I rated this 3 stars. And there's not much more to say about it. The next book I finished was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. yeah, Brian started something. I also rated this one 4.5 stars because yes. Because yes. I get the understanding that people either love or hate the love hypothesis. I am definitely on the love group. And I've not read a lot of Grumpy Sunshine or Fake Dating, so I went into this kind of like, I don't know how I feel. I don't know if I'm gonna love this or not, and I did. I think I found the new favorite trope. But yeah. So the next thing I finished was Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. Um, this is another 4.5 star. And I'm surprised about what I'm about to say. I very nearly DNF'd this. The stakes were so low, particularly in the beginning, that I was like, nothing's gonna happen. This is just gonna be a boring thing about somebody putting together a coffee shop. And then it got good. And I am hoping to read the next book soon. This actually, I said 4.5. Apparently, I actually rated it 4.8, but I can't really draw 4.8 stars. So, yeah, rounding it. But I did very much enjoy this, and it's funny that it went from, I think I might DNF this to, this is one of my favorite books. And the next thing I finished was Cold Cold Bones by Kathy Reichs. And I love Kathy Reichs. I love her Temperance Red novels, but this one, I rated it 3.5 stars. I figured out who the real culprit is like really quick, and because of that, all the tension just drained out. Like it was just like, I already know this person did it. I don't care. You're going down the wrong path. Stop it. I do love that this one was set in Charlotte, North Carolina, which a lot of hers are. Because I'm actually from South Carolina. Charlotte's like an hour away from me, so it's always fun to read about a place that's sort of local that I could go and visit, and that I've actually been to some of the places that are mentioned. Okay, the next book I finished was Always Destined by Scarlett Avery. And after not being so sold on Always Mine, this book actually was 4 stars for me. I really enjoyed it. I was hooked in like 1 or 2 chapters. And this is much like Bride, actually. I wish I could get more with these characters instead of the next book being about a different couple. Okay, the next book I finished, I literally read in like a day, not because it was so good, but because I just wanted it to be done with. And that was In My Tudor Era by Kate Bromley. This is actually a book that I got an arc of from NetGalley. I think it was NetGalley. And I just had so many issues with it. I rated it 2 stars. And honestly, I feel like I might should have rated it lower. But anyway, it just, I love Tudor era fiction, and the whole concept was a modern woman gets transported back in time, and she gets put into the body of Catherine Howard, which is one of Henry VIII's wives. Spoiler alert, she's one of the ones that's beheaded. But it didn't work for me because it felt too much like a modern person. Like, she kept talking like she was in modern times. And the way she acted was very obviously not Catherine Howard. Very obviously didn't belong in the Tudor period at all. And it broke immersion for me so hard to the point where I was just like, I'm done. I am finishing this. so I can write a review for NetGalley, but I have zero care for this book. Do not recommend. Now, yeah, this is, I read one more book, or I finished one more book in February, and that is the one and only 5-star, perfect 5-star for the month, and that is Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. And literally, can I just give it 6 stars? Is that loud? The emotional intensity, the tension, just yes, yes, and yes. The whole game in this one I love so much. I love the entire family. And I'm so excited that I just found out there's going to be a 3rd book. There's going to be a 3rd book coming out, I think, this year. I gotta look that up again. But I'm very excited for the 3rd book. But yeah, that was my February. A lot of good books, a couple of not so good books, one Out of the Park book. Yeah, my March is shaping up to be complicated because I have like 2 DNFs already. Well, a hard DNF and a soft DNF. And I think I've gone into detail in my January video about what the difference between those is. And I've had a hard time really focusing in on the reading due to my health issues that are coming up. And some just life stuff. I had a death in the family. So yeah, reading has just not been as much of a focus as I want. But after reading 12 books, 10, 12, whatever you want to say, in February, I'm okay with March being a little lighter. And hopefully I will not wait until like the end of April to update you in March. But that is all I have for this one. Drop me a comment down below if you've read any of these books and how you felt about them. Or also just tell me what you're reading right now. I'm always open to new recommendations. And that's all I got for this one. I'll see you all soon with a new one. Bye!